Grow and segment your list for maximum ROI. Building a list is one thing, but building a list that makes money, that's a whole different strategy. I'm Dan, and in part 3 of this Klaviyo e-commerce series, I'll show you the exact segmentation approach we use to help generate an extra $2,000 per email send from a list built with intention and segmented for performance. Add in smart growth tactics and your list becomes a profit center. So let's start with how to actually grow a high quality list. Then we'll dive into the segments that do the heavy lifting. How to grow a high quality list. The goal isn't to collect the most emails. We'll start with this important point. It's to collect the most valuable ones, the most high intent ones. Here's how we do this. So for one, we can use smart pop-ups and forms. We want to move away from join our newsletter, this kind of stuff. And I know a lot of brands don't do this now, but we want to move away from that completely, okay? And instead use things like exit intent forms, quiz opt-ins, embedded sign-up forms, and time delay pop-ups. So for example, pop-up strategy could be you have pop-up 1, which is get 10% off your first order, which appears on the homepage. Pop-up 2 is an exit intent with urgency. So as they click off of the site, we can have something like leaving ? Get your 10% off before it's gone or before you miss out. And then form 3 could be a blog page opt-in. So when people go onto your blog, the pop-up comes up. And for example, you could have like, want more tips like this? Join our email list, for example. Or want more results like this? Get our email series. Before I go into the examples, pro tips is always test copy, timing and placement. Always require the name and email. Personalization starts with your sign up forms. So make sure to always, as when you can, grab their name, grab their email address, and other first party data. Things like location can be good, gender, depending on the brand, can also be good. Third point, show different pop-ups to mobile versus desktop users. So let's go into some examples. So we have the embed to start with, and this is usually something that will be on the bottom. It doesn't tend to get many opt-in rates, just so you're aware, that you guys probably are aware of this. But you want to make sure that you have this on your homepage. If not on your homepage, on every page, it could be at the bottom. You can have it at the bottom and in the middle. Just something that splits up from the other how it works section, maybe your testimonial section. Just have this embed form on every page when they're scrolling. You pop up. Again, we just talked about this. One formula we use is the 3-step opt-in, which I won't go too much into in this video, but just so you're aware, essentially it's getting them to say yes at every stage of the pop-up journey. So in this case, it's like want to get X off, want to get X off. Yes, please. No, I don't. I want to pay full price. We've noticed this actually triples the amount of opt-in rates that you get versus saying get 10% off, enter your email address. You know, first of all, we want to get them to say mentally in their head, yes, so that when the box of the email address pops up, they've already agreed to it mentally. And then it makes it a lot easier for them to enter the email address. Quiz opt-ins are great for interactive lead capture. I think every brand can create a quiz if you're creative enough. Like some brands, it's really, really good and it moves the needle massively. Some brands, it's just good to have. But I think it is one of those things that is just good to have, if not super necessary, depending on the brand. And with this will always be at the end, you just say, we need to grab your email to keep a record or so that we can calculate your results properly or something like that, and then get them to submit their email address to see the results that they've submitted. Product page. So this is actually something that I do not see a lot of. And on your PDP of your products, having a third button underneath add to cart or buy now, pay later, you actually have another button that links to, like, that has the same similar copy to your pop-up. So if you're running a giveaway, you could have like we win 300 store credit in this case, or win X. If you're out of stock, you'd have subscribe to find out when we're back in stock, or your pop-ups get 10% off. You could just say get 10% off here. Now this is worth testing because some brands you may find, like an A/B test is what I'm talking about, because you may find that it distracts the user from purchasing. Other times it may help with conversion rate, so be sure to check on to do a test on your conversion rate to see if this improves or reduces conversions. Other points, SEO opt-in. It's quite a unique one. So customers will and they do it quite often, they will Google the brand and to find out if it has any discounts available. So, for example, they'll go to Google, they'll search Nike store discounts, for example, right? And then from there, there'll be a list of like these third party apps which offer, like, they find discount codes, and then basically if you give them the email address or whatever, they send them to you. We want to make sure we're capitalizing on that and capitalizing on that search engine optimization by getting them to come back to our website. So the idea here is to use an SEO opt-in with a web page which has the same pop-up as we do on the main website. In this case, say 10% off your first order, but it's on our website and it's just an embedded form on its own single page. So when they search, in this case, burger discounts, they will see the burger website pop up first, and it will link to a page, say burger.com/discount, and it will go the traffic will go directly to our website, to the brand's website. And yeah, this is also something not to miss out on. It's a kind of a bonus tip. I'll get deeper into signups and pop-ups in another video because there's lots and lots of things we can do there. But for now, just to keep this going and in the right direction, I want to talk about segmentation a bit more. Because this is where the profit happens. So once your list starts to grow, once you have these opt-in forms in different places, segmentation is super important because it's how you turn it into money. And we want to break down our audience into these 4 categories. So we have behavior. It's, for example, viewed product, didn't buy, added to cart, no checkout, clicked 3+ emails last 4 days. So it's based on their behavior, how they're interacting with the website, how they're interacting with the emails that we're sending. Starts with behavior, because when we know how they behave, we know what to target them and send them and message them with. Demographics is the second point. Demographic segments include like gender, if collected at sign up, and if it's relevant to your brand. I know a lot of fashion brands will have male and female, right? You'll have female products, male products. We want to be collecting that information at the sign up form if you're a fashion brand, because you want to know that you're sending male style content to men and female style content to females. So it's super important that we collect that at the sign up. Geolocation. This is usually for shipping or language, or if you're like a furniture brand and you have showrooms where people can go visit visit in store your products, you want to make sure also, like, hey, if you live in New York, we're near you, go check us out, kind of thing. And you can geo-target these people with your emails as well. The third point of segmentation, the blueprint, is the life cycle segments. So this is at the stage of where they are in the customer journey. Okay, so you'll have your first-time buyers, repeat purchasers, and lapsed customers. And I know we've talked about this previously in the segmentation in part 2. But we want to make sure we have these at least 3 main things done, including non-customers as well, obviously. And then your 4th segmentation blueprint is the engagement segments, starting with your 30-day open clickers, lapsing, so people who have no activity, and then your dead list, those who are 90 days plus inactivity, where they go into a suppress or win back drip sequence. Now, the pro tip here is to use Klaviyo's, if you're using Klaviyo, you'll definitely know this, but it's to use Klaviyo's dynamic segments. Very simple. Very straightforward, but it is a pro tip, because if you can create many different dynamic segments within each of these 4 categories, as many segments as you can within these four categories, gather data through campaign sending and through flows, you'll make sure that you always stay accurate and that you always know what are your worst performing segments, what are your best performing segments, and what's sort of the middle ground. And best performing be like, we always have to send these guys emails non-stop, or frequently, we need to be on top of mind, maybe even SMS as well, versus your lower engaged segments where maybe we don't send as much, but we're still engaging with, trying to engage with them. Proof it works. A small case study here. So working with this brand, apologies, there's a bit of a typo here. That's actually 75,000. It's supposed to be 75,532. Revenue per send was around $489. After segmentation, sending only to highly engaged 30-day segments, which was around 18,923 people, revenue jumped to $2.1 thousand with a 0.2% unsubscribe rate. And you can see it here. This is with segmentation. We have 18,923, 0.2% unsubscribe rate, and 22 placed orders. And then from here, without segmentation, we had 49,529 with 0.8%, so 375 recipients versus the 41, and then 7 placed orders. So a lot of brands will be sending to more people than they need to. And that's the kind of point I'm trying to get across here, is that we want to make sure we are not hyper segmenting, but we're thinking carefully about who we're sending to, because these are the numbers that matter. It's the unsubscribe rate and obviously the placed order rate. So the next steps for your brand is build your top 5 segments. Okay, so engaged, VIPs, first time buyers, winbacks, and browsers. These are going to be the people who you want to be messaging frequently, because they're likely to be making one or more purchases over the next few weeks and month. Second point is create pop-ups that segment on entry versus I'm new versus I've bought before. Okay. Third point, add segmentation rules to flows. So this is one thing that's super important. Make sure to only send certain emails to specific segments within the flows. You don't want to be sending every single email to every single person, especially if it's not relevant. So go through, audit your flows, have a look at the emails, put yourself in the position of the customer. For example, in the post-purchase flow, after 3 days, I receive an email that's like, go buy this other product. But hang on, I haven't even received the product yet, maybe after 3 days. Depending on some brands, you may have, but they haven't even probably got a chance to really test it out and really know if they like it. And you're already asking them to go buy something else. Maybe in that state, you could push the email a little bit later, or you completely just exclude that segment, depending on the strategy there. The fourth and final point is to track revenue by segment monthly, optimize and scale. Again, I will get more into how to do this in its own video, but just so you know, you can go into your segments in Klaviyo and you can see by clicking through how much revenue each segment is making and double down on the ones that are performing really hard. So just to summarize for this video, a big list isn't a flex. A smart list is. Okay, I know a lot of brands be like, I've got a million subscribers, but maybe only 10,000 of those guys are engaged and buying from you. So it's definitely important to like I said, to segment. And brands that do segment, nurture, and personalize win on every metric. Okay, every single metric we've talked about: deliverability, conversions, loyalty, and lifetime value. Up next is how to test and optimize your emails so you can improve performance with every send. See you then.